Imagine unlocking 90 days of client generating content, all without creating a single new client result. That right there is exactly what happens when you master social proof. Let me show you exactly how to do that. Today's episode's a big one. That's what she said. Because every coach is saying that they can help, but only the best coaches can actually prove that they can help. So, to start off with, I think where we should start is, what the hell even is social proof before we dive in, so that we're all on the same page. Social proof is content that shows that you can apply your coaching skills to real life people and then get those real life people real life results. It's not like, look how smart I am and look what I can teach you, which is where people get lost. And it's not how to fix your squat. It's, here's how I helped Jamie drop 12 kilograms using my XYZ framework. Now listen, your S&C degree is nice, your PT certification is fine, but your next client isn't paying for theory, and more importantly, they're not looking for your qualifications. I fucking promise you that much. They're looking for one thing, and that one thing is evidence that you can do what you say you can do.
So I think that leads us quite nicely onto the next part, which is the 5 mistakes people make when they're creating social proof. So I'll read them, and you're going to give your raw, unfiltered Matt opinion on them. So
Raw dog.
Mistake number 1, you're only sharing the finished result.
Okay, I usually do this. This is where I started making mistakes. Let's say I was coaching you, you were the client, and we were looking at your transformation, whatever that transformation might be, but it maybe, let's say it was going to take 20 weeks.
Yeah.
And at this stage, you're 6 to 8 weeks in, and okay, you look a shitload better. I think that's really important to point out. At this point, you already have had a result.
Yeah.
And it was maybe an emotional and a habitual one to start, and now it's something deeper than that. But in my mind, I was waiting for the finished, wait till Chaz is fucking shredded out his mind. He's got abs on his abs, veins on his veins. I'll post that one because that one's going to be a fucking banger. But the first issue was that actually the violent jump between the start and the end was actually quite off-putting for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So if you're doing that, please stop doing that, because number one is the transformation's so big, a lot of your prospects are scared by it. The second problem is I was literally robbing myself of all the social proof that Chaz got from weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, which not only prevented me from posting content and getting more proof out, but also prevented me from showing the little micro changes that were like, hey, week 1, Chaz did this. It might not be that sexy, but it's super fucking attainable for someone watching. They're like, oh, that seems easy. He doesn't look like he's fucking superhuman now. He just looks like he's ate less like an asshole this week. I could probably eat less like an asshole next week. So I do think they're the biggest kind of issues. So the kind of thinking about it for me, definitely if you've got clients, you want to be sharing little chunks off the journey as often as you can. And the way I've always sold this to clients is you kind of create like a reality TV show where it's like, Chaz is your new favorite character. Like, I wonder what Chaz is getting up to this week. And then you see him, he's like, fuck, that guy looks fucking class this week. And you start to see it come to fruition, and it demystifies the whole process rather than one violent jump from fat to shredded out his mind.
There you go. So that's mistake number 1. Mistake number 2, you're inconsistent as hell. I think this ties in. You're saying you're missing weeks 1 to 12 or 1 to 20. That's just inconsistency.
Yeah, the inconsistency is, it's like you post a bit of social proof. It gets worse when it's like you're posting, say 1 week you post a bunch of social proof, and that, like, great, fantastic, great success. But then for most coaches, the next 3 weeks is just fucking tumbleweed because they forget or whatever else, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But certainly, like, the consistency is the most important thing. People need to see, a mentor of mine always used to say, people need to be reminded more than they're taught. So you saying, here's Chaz, he looks fucking great, and you don't, you should sign up and you would look great. It's fine. But if you continuously hammer me with the message of these people look great, this person looks great, this person looks great, or whatever your transformation is for your clients, that consistency breeds trust. That's what you're looking to do with social proof, is to build trust. And it's much easier to have trust when there's just, it's the Hormozy thing. A stack of undeniable proof. Like a stack so fucking big that it would be unreasonable to assume that I wouldn't acquire the same thing. So if you look at a restaurant, if they've got 3 TripAdvisor reviews and they're all 5-star, you're like, well, it's pretty well reviewed, but like 3 fucking people. Yeah. I don't know.
I think that's like what Caleb Ralston was talking about, intentional pairing. You pair yourself. When someone thinks of good result, they think of you. And
trust and authority and expertise and everything else in between. So I think one of the mistakes is not having like a set cadence. To put a bumper sticker on this, you don't have a set cadence for posting social proof. You don't have set days that you're going to fucking do it, so you forget. And then you either rush something out that's shite, or most likely you just don't do it that week and you post another talking head reel that does average anyway. So lose.
All right. Number 3, you screenshot dump 50 wins with 0 context.
Oh my God. Where do we even go with this? So I might get a bit fired up here, brothers, but this is the one that gets under my skin the most, is the story that says client wins, and it's just fucking like you've just splattered WhatsApp messages all over it that are from client 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're all unrelated. There is fucking 0 context, story, or emotion to any of it. So if you're doing that, first point to write down, stop doing the client wins stories, because it ain't fucking working. Also, I think we need to probably put client wins as a title under a microscope. Client wins, I don't know, I think it's a bit of a shit title. So the mistake is sharing non-contextual, non-emotional, and non-personal. So we can talk about later on how to fix it, but top line note, give me a name, give me an emotion, and give me a fucking story and some context, because like, hey, I had a really good workout this week. Oh my God, my trousers fit better. And like all this random unassociated shite creates confusion. And also, final point, if it takes me 20 minutes to read a fucking single story, I'm not going, if there's effort to consume it.
All the photos are like 45 degrees off. You're like turning your phone upside
I need
down.
a fucking microscope to be able to read it as well. Like, so if there's effort required for me to consume it, I won't. And if I don't consume it, it doesn't have the designed impact.
All right. Mistake number 4. Say these people are posting things, but they never do any asks. So they've got a shitload of social proof out there, but never once do an ask.
I think this comes down to courage. I think people want it to be confidence. They want it to be like, oh, I don't feel confident asking. Well, the problem with confidence is it comes after you need it. As I said many times before, like if you're going to jump out of a plane and skydive, I doubt at the moment you are being thrust out of an open fucking plane door that you're filled with anything that resembles confidence, probably shitting yourself. But then when you land on the floor and realize you're not flat as a pancake and dead with your organs scattered across the field, then you're probably like, that was pretty good. I feel confident I could do that again. So confidence comes after you need it. This calls for courage. And I had a PT client once whose name's Mark. And I remember telling him I'd met Sarah on Tinder. And I was like, oh, look at this girl, like blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't need to mess. I need to ask her out. And I'm quite confident. I would say I'm quite courageous. But he's like, okay, well, shite. What did he say? He said, faint of heart, never won fair maiden. I'm like, oh, okay, Shakespeare. What the fuck does that mean? And he's like, in plain English, shite bags get nothing. I'm like, right, mint. So ask her out, yeah? He's like, yeah, you've got nothing to lose. So I asked, and we are now happily married. So that worked, and I've applied that ever since. And I think this is where, like, if you're going to share social proof, I think it's actually the most relevant. And like, if we don't want to be slimy or sleazy, attaching an ask to social proof is probably the least slimy and sleazy place to do it.
Yeah.
So
you're just appealing to that small percentage of people that are on like tipping over the fence.
100%.
Fair enough. And then the last one is you just forget, so you don't post and it doesn't work. People blaming, oh, I'm a bit busy or this, that, and the other. It's like, as I think you mentioned it before, it's like create structure to actually capitalize on what you are putting out.
I think there's 2 places people forget. Yeah, it's like there's no structure. So you forget to post it because there's no structure. So for us, we post social proof Thursdays and Sundays. Mm-hmm. Easy. So we know every Thursday and Sunday, it's social proof day. We don't have to think about what we're making in terms of options. We need to think about who we're making it about. So it reduces the overwhelm. And to make this real, my son's 10. When we go to this big sweet shop, you know, when we take Nick to that big sweet shop in Aviemore, we take him and I give him a $5 and he stands there in short fucking circuits for 10 minutes because he can't make a decision because the overwhelm of choice. Whereas if I take him to Tesco's and say, which sweet do you want? He's like, I'll have the Skittles. Yeah. Because this choice is so low. So on social proof days, if you've removed yourself from the sweet shop and paralysis analysis of everything you could possibly post and narrowed that down to social proof that day, it makes the decision-making process, who is it about, not what the hell am I going to post. But the second way they forget is they forget to ask their clients. So it's like when someone messages you and says, like say you're the client, and you message and say, bro, like this week I feel like it's really coming together. Things are coming in. I look really good. That you forget to ask the follow-up question, which is like, oh, dude, super proud of you. Like stoked. Like, how do you feel? Yeah. And you're like, dude, I feel amazing. Like I feel fucking hyped. Like I honestly, first time I've walked into the gym and not felt underconfident. I felt like I deserved to be there and like I was allowed to be in the gym. Man, guess what? Your social proof just got a hell of a lot better because there's emotion attached and there's feelings. And it's like remember the goal of the social proof is to market to the before, not the after. So shredded Chaz isn't the target. It's fat Chaz, so to speak.
And
whatever
reaching out to that initial confidence to walk into the gym.
There you go. So that guy sat on the sofa being like, I don't have the confidence. And then he sees this message saying like, oh, I look amazing this week. That's great. But then I look amazing this week and I feel like I like belong in a gym. I don't feel like everyone's looking at me anymore. Aha! Now we're talking the right fucking language. Now we're talking to the people who are who are reading the content. So you're forgetting to ask the follow-up questions. How does that make you feel? What's that doing for you? How's that showing up? Like, these are the follow-up questions that are absolutely fucking incredible. And then I suppose bonus point, you forget to store it somewhere, because there's a moment where it happens. Chaz messages me, and then there's a moment where I post it, but all the shit in between has to happen. So for us, we use a Trello board. If we see a client win at any stage in the week, we add it to the Trello board, Chaz, and then a one-liner to describe what it is and where it is. Is it in a group chat? Is it in a check-in? Wherever it was. That way we don't even have to fucking remember anything more. It's captured. And that way when it comes to Thursday and Sunday, guess where we're going to look? We're going to look in that Trello and be like, oh, Chaz had a good win this week. Let's do that one.
With that behind us, I think that leads us quite nicely onto the value equation. And with the value equation, it's definitely something that's easier to show than tell. So, Matt.
Well, you'd be glad to hear, Chaz. I have come prepared with something to show you.
Thank you very much.
You are most welcome, honey. So, with the value equation, it is an equation by our Lord and Savior, Alex Hormozi. And it's commonly discussed in the Optimized Coach. Now, there are various different components to this, and it looks more confusing than it is. Effectively, what we're defining is what the fuck is value? Like, that's what we're trying to work out, is how do you add value? What is value? Well, when it comes to Alex's example, it is the dream outcome. How clear is the outcome that you provide to the client? So if it's like, I help people look good, run further, lift more, PB, like there's fucking 25 different components. It's not that clear, and the lack of clarity matters. Then we multiply that by the perceived likelihood of achievement. So if it's clear what I get, which is maybe like for me, it was photo shoots. So I took male personal trainers to photo shoots. The dream outcome was fairly obvious. Shredded out my fucking mind, covered in coconut oil, tanned out my fucking nut, and looking good. But the perceived likelihood of achievement is, how easy does it look for me to achieve it? Does this look like I'm going to have to live like a fucking monk for 3 straight years without even looking at chocolate? Or does it look like, well, Matt and Chaz both eat fucking Squares bars like they're going out of fashion. This episode is sponsored by Kellogg's Squares bars of any variety other than strawberry. Don't eat the strawberry ones, guys. They're bad for you. They're horrible. But if the perceived likelihood of achievement is high, if it feels easy to do, then good. So what we want to do is those two top things we want to improve. Like, we want to make the dream outcome clearer, and we want to have the perceived likelihood of achievement higher. Now, on the bottom, we have the opposite. We have things we want to reduce. The first of those things is time delay. So if the dream outcome is good and the perceived likelihood of achievement is high, but it looks like it takes 85 weeks for me to do that, this is why, like, and shit all over 12-week transformations if you like. We don't need to get into a debate about who likes what, but with the reason that they sell so well, not advocating it for a minute, but the reason they sell so well is because it's the time delay is so low. Yeah. The time delay, how long between now and the finished product? Like, that's why Amazon Prime, tell me if something isn't next day delivery, you're like, fuck this, I'll buy it somewhere else.
Shout out to the new podcast setup.
Yeah, Amazon Prime, fucking incredible.
You put it on your story today. I was like, oh my God, it's already there.
So yeah, time delay needs to be reduced. And the other thing we need to reduce, obviously, we're multiplying that by effort and sacrifice, which is how difficult does this look, which is just the polar opposite of perceived likelihood of achievement, which is, does it look like I have to eat like a monk? Does it look like I have to never go out and see my friends? Does it look like I can't eat anything that I enjoy anymore? And this is where coaches actually do this one wrong. They're like, oh, well, eating all the foods that you still love in their marketing. Well, that's a fucking lie, because a lot of these prospects love eating like a fucking asshole. So we're going to have to reduce some of those foods. Yeah, they might eat some of those foods, but they're not eating all of them. And they're certainly not eating the same amount. So I think sometimes we can sensationalize and Daily Mail the headlines a bit too much. Now, when you do that and you've increased the top and reduced the bottom, we now have effectively value. Now, when it comes to social proof, how does that work? Well, I'll break that down for you. I've already done these ones. So in terms of the dream outcome, your social proof fits in here as to the clarity of the social proof. So if you've got 25 different things that you get your clients, and it's like I said, lift, run, look, all these different things, it gets a bit muddled. Yeah. Like, if you know those those restaurants that are like world cuisine.
Yeah, like a Mr. Bazrais.
Yeah, you don't know what you're getting when you go there. Well, you do, diarrhea. But definitely, right? Extreme bout of gastro. But it's not clear. They're jack of all trades. So if
Yeah.
the clarity of the social proof is high, like how clear is it what you do? For me, it was just pictures of guys as a photo shoot, shredded. Good. It was very clear what the product was. When it comes to perceived likelihood of achievement, is the volume of social proof. If the TripAdvisor review, if there's 3 reviews, the likelihood of this being a good restaurant is low, even though there's 3 5-star reviews.
Yeah.
If there's 14,000 5-star reviews,
I mean, it's the same as when you go on someone's Instagram profile and they tell you, I help people grow their Instagrams. It's like, bro, you've got 160 followers.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
yeah, well, if you can't apply this to yourself,
Yeah.
we're in trouble, brothers.
Yeah.
So volume of social proof is super important, and this is where, like, you know, those pages that are like dedicated. And again, I keep hammering the word transformation for the sake of everyone. It's the transformation can be where the fuck you want it to be. I'm just using the example of my business, which was physique transformation. But you know, when you go on a physique transformation page and it's just wall to wall transformations,
Yeah.
undeniable is the first word that comes to mind for me.
Yeah.
Well, this worked for all those other people, then it worked for me. The more other people it worked for, the quieter the little voice in the prospect's head of, yeah, but my mum said I'm super special when she was putting cream on my bumhole when I was wee. Do you know what I mean? Like it quietens that. So the other thing that we can put into this bucket is also the context. So the perceived likelihood of achievement is exactly that little voice. That was actually an unintentional, very good segue for me, which is, I see social proof and it's you shredded and I'm sat on the sofa and I'm like, yeah, but I bet he doesn't have, insert some shite that I have that I assume you don't have. I bet he doesn't have kids. I bet he doesn't have a full-time job. I bet he doesn't have to travel for work. I bet he doesn't have like a terminally ill like mother-in-law, or, you know, like everyone's got something. But if you can share, it's like, this is Chaz. Chaz has 85 kids to 15 different women. That is actually true. And he has 3 full-time jobs and he works 26 hours a day. Everyone's bullshit just goes away. Now, obviously, you don't lie, but if you add that context, it creates objection handling in advance in the proof. So then we're increasing value.
Yeah.
Next up, on the bottom, the time delay can be reduced by time-bound social proof. So
I was about to say, adding to that last point, if you're doing, I think a lot of the people, especially in the OC, when it comes to social proof, when they run events, it's like they ask that same question. It's like, what questions do I get my videographer to ask my clients? Or what do I get this, that, and the other? Following up on what you said there, is like, always start with the context. It's like, get as much information out of that person as you can around who
Age,
they are
job,
and what they do. It's
circumstance.
like, who are you? How long have you been here? Like, do you have kids? What do you do for work? How long's the commute to work? How do you fit your training around work? And get as much context out of that person as you possibly can. So then when you do decide to use it for social proof, like we're talking about here, you have so many different ways to reach your intended audience. It's not just, oh, fuck, it's Blair again.
and overcome the bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. So
100%. So find out what the goal of that question is, to find out from the client in the testimonial what reasons there are why they shouldn't have succeeded.
Exactly.
Like, what bullshit have you got? What reasons have you got for this to be hard for you? Because that is the shit that other people are like, yeah, well, fuck Stephen. I bet he doesn't have a full-time job.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, honestly,
Stephen has
exactly
3 full-time jobs, brother. And you know, maybe he doesn't. And that's what I'm saying. You don't lie about it.
No.
But everyone's got shit.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, back to what you were saying before.
Well, now we're on the bottom half of the equation where we're looking to reduce things. And the first we're looking to reduce is time delay. So we want to make your social proof time bound. So if you're sharing social proof and you're failing to share how long that took. So it's like, here's Chaz, before and after. He lost this much weight. That's and we could even add that he had kids and everything else. This is a pretty good piece of social proof so far, by all standards so far. But then if you didn't tell me how long it takes, I assume, again, the little voice in the back of my head is like, bet that took about 6 months. Bet that took 8 months. I'm not willing to do. I need to be ready for Ibiza in 4 weeks, right? So that shit comes up. So if you're constantly saying in 4 weeks, in 6 weeks, in 8 weeks, now listen, you don't have to start with the start photo all the time. This is important, actually. So like, if I start with the start photo that you sent me when you started is you in your first condition. And now we've got this photo from where you are now. The first phase, maybe we didn't actually work on fat loss. We just worked on habits, and you did tighten up a bit, but not massively. Mm-hmm. You maybe lost a couple of kilos, but you had 10 to lose. You had 15 to lose.
Yeah.
You could use the second photo and you could do A to B. You could do B to C rather than A to C, if that makes sense. So you could do like the Chaz at the end of phase 1, Chaz at the end of his fat loss phase. Because now, if the fat loss phase was 6 weeks, you can say it was a 6-week transformation without lying, rather than saying it was an 8-week transformation, and we just shortened the time that it was without. Do not use the first picture and say it was 6 weeks just because it was 6 weeks of fat loss. It wasn't 6 weeks. It was fucking 8 weeks. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I was about to say that you can like pick apart the longer term and find the biggest
the chunks that you
phase.
like, 100%, that suit different contexts. And the final piece here is like your effort and sacrifice needs to be reduced. And we're going to use your tools and frameworks. And this is where a lot of coaches, every coach that's ever come to us doesn't have this dialed. And there's one thing that we help them with in the OC, which is naming the phases, naming the tools, naming the frameworks. Like you didn't invent progressive overload. I certainly fucking didn't. Or calorie deficits or anything in between. What we want to do is name those phases, name your frameworks, because you have your own unique ways of doing things. And what that does is, if I say this is Chaz, it took this long, he has 15 kids, he has a 9 to 5, and it took us 6 weeks. We've ticked all the boxes so far. But then I say he got this lean using our fat loss 5,000 extreme phase. It's a fucking horrible name for a phase. But now, Steven sat on the sofa says, if I had the fat loss 5,000 extreme program, because I've got 5 kids, I've got that. Yeah, if I had that phase or that framework or that tool or that system,
It's living rent free in his head.
I'm now like, I reckon if I had that system, I could get the same result. And that right there is how you add social proof to every one of the 4 pieces of the social proof of the value equation, and thus make all of them feed into increased value in the post that you're putting out. And if it's more valuable and more proofy and more trust building, then people will reach out. I fucking promise.
So with that being said, obviously it's all well and good being like, we can do this, that, and the other. But what would you say to a coach that's potentially newer to the industry, that's not got the clients yet and hasn't maybe got as much social proof or even results in the bank?
Well, the first thing is no one's got as much social proof as they want. So that feeling's never going to leave you. You're always going to, it's all N+1. But let's be real, when you start, everyone starts from the same place with 0 social proof. Like you start with none, and that's okay. Couple of points here is, when I first started, I had none like everyone else. And when I started working, my clientele, my niche was everyone with a heartbeat and a wallet, because I hadn't earned the right yet. And that's okay. So as a result, my PT diary looked like the average Joe's dodgeball team. It was just a mishmash of people. And in reality, I didn't get any marketable results from a lot of them. Whilst they made progress and they were happy, it was like Susan, who was coming in to do 2 sessions a week and do fuck all else for the rest of the week. And the big win with Susan was that she ate 4 digestive biscuits rather than 6 this week at the coffee morning afterwards. And you're like, fuck me, I'm never going to be able to market any of this. You have to endure that phase, and that's you mastering your craft. That's your apprenticeship. But sooner or later, I remember the first guy I got in shape, it almost felt accidental. I was just like, holy shit, like I did it, like yes. Yeah. And then with that, he brought, when I marketed his result, terrible post, I must try and find it. I marketed that and he brought in 2 or 3 new leads, or clients actually. So more than 2 or 3 new leads, but 2 or 3 people signed up off the back of that. Then one of those guys got super lean pretty quickly. And then he brought in 2 or 3. And that's kind of how it works. It's like one good result, 2 or 3 more, one good result, 2 or 3 more. So it compounds and multiplies over time. But you can't rush that first phase. You can, however, have social proof in that first phase, even when you're just dealing with Susan and her digestive biscuits. And you're going to do that by being the social proof yourself, because in my opinion, you will always be your best social proof. I think you should be. And this is where I get into arguments with coaches all the time.
And what do you mean when you say you should be your own social proof?
Well, I think you should be in shape, brackets, for your market. And this fucking riles people, because of the body positivity movement, which in my opinion is complete horseshit. But here we go. You should be in shape as a coach. In shape, defined as you already have acquired the thing that your market want. So people are like, well, I'm not in shape and I'm a great coach. Well, okay. I remember one guy that argued with me specifically, and I said, well, who do you coach? And he's like, I help like obese people lose a lot of weight. I was like, sick. Like, no shade on that. That's a cool job. Were you once obese? Yes. Cool. Are you now? No. Cool. So you're in shape for your market. Is that what you're saying? And he's like, well, yeah, but that's not what you said. It's like, no, that's what I said. That's not what you felt. You felt triggered and attacked, and I'm not triggered and I'm not doing anything. So you should be in shape for your market. If you're a running coach who teaches people to run a marathon, ideally you should have at some stage run a marathon. I'm not saying you need to run one today. I'm just saying you should have done it. Like if I hadn't done a shoot and been lean, it would be kind of difficult to take. You can't take someone somewhere you've never been. You'll never lead someone somewhere you've never been.
So then if you're creating social proof out of what you've done, would that be literally just like almost like more storytelling posts going through, if you've done your marathon, how you got ready for it?
Yeah. How I rather than how to is fucking huge. Even when you've got other social proof, that's banger social proof. Yeah. How I is more like humble mentor or guide rather than like finger wagging parent, like how to. They feel like a teacher rather than like a guide. So if you can't take someone that you've never to somewhere you've never been. Like, I've never driven to fucking Portugal from here. So chances are I couldn't guide you there. That's fine. So what you want to do is look at sharing like how I, but then also looking at the little behaviors that you do day to day that are like, the hard part is these are invisible because they're so normal to you and I. So like I still get up and I fill a shaker every single night and it's got greens and electrolytes in it and I nick it in the morning.
Yeah.
That became so like subconscious that I didn't share it. But then when I realized I could share this stuff, that's like, it showed consistency and it showed the thing that people wanted. So it evidenced the behavior that people wanted, which was consistency. There's no client on fucking planet Earth whose biggest problem isn't consistency, doing the right things. People know what to do. They just aren't doing it consistently.
I think a good example of this could be potentially when you started the Optimized Coach, you had no client results of financials.
But I had my own.
But you had your own. So how did you go from being a successful online coach / in-person coach to then building a business which is focused around growing people's income? How do you do that?
The social proof existed by default if they could see that other coaches, the new client, not the existing client at that point was fitness people.
Because at this point it was how I.
Yeah, but they could see it. It wasn't how I, it was, they could see it anyway, which is the shaker, which is the behaviors. They could see that I had loads of results. They could see that I seemed to be very systematic, very disciplined in my behaviors, was churning out content left, right, and fucking center where no one else was, because content was still relatively new then.
Yeah.
Then they could see those behaviors. So then there was no how I. The how I was, I never said those words, but there was how I. They could see the behaviors, and then people would ask, and they were like, "How do you do that with your post? Like, how did you do that on stories? Like, how did you get that result? Like, how much are people paying you?" Like, you tell them like, "Fucking hell, that's like twice what people pay me." I'm like, "Yeah, well, the results are better." Like, okay. And then they would ask, how they'd ask for how I, but how do you do it?
So at this point in the journey, this is the equivalent of having a couple people interested in your online coaching, being like, "How do I do this? How do I do this?" And you're like, "Mate, I presume at this point you then started helping a few people
for free
to then get
proof of concept that I could apply those things to someone else, because you can do it doesn't mean you can teach it.
Exactly. So then you're collecting social proof
from the free people,
from working for the free people, and then that then led into actual social proof, which
then the two or three rule happens. So it's like, I work with Stephen, Mark, and John for free, and I get them a good result, and then I market that social proof as per what we're discussing just now, and then each one of those brings in 5 leads. Each one of those 5 leads at, say, an 80% conversion rates, 2 or 3 clients. Excellent. Now we've got real clients paying real money, and that all stemmed from me walking the walk. Like, I genuinely believe that you are the fucking product of whatever you do. And there are people argue with me until they're fucking blue in the face on that.
But the underlying factor really is you actually have to be good at what you do. And I think people can get people can get really caught up in like, "Oh, I've not got any leads coming in, or I've not got this, that, and the other," without having first looked in the mirror and thought,
because it's not nice.
Yeah, is what I'm doing actually worthy, and like, is it stand out enough to get that attention?
Are your results good enough? Yes or no? If no, that's okay. Like, that's not a judgment. That is a honest reflection of your opinion of your results. And for when I was working with Susan and her fucking digestive biscuit problem, the results were shit. I makes my toes curl thinking about the workouts I used to write for people. I got Susan doing fucking plyos. I'm like, why is she doing explosive movements? The only thing explosive was probably her fucking bowel movements, to be honest, after that diet. But I think with that, you have to earn the right, and earning the right is going to involve you educating yourself. "Oh, but Matt, I can't afford to educate myself." Are you joking? Like, are you fucking joking? Like, when I was like, when I was Nixon's age, when I was 10, you had to buy Encarta on a fucking floppy disk or CD-ROM. You don't even know what that is, do you?
No.
Right. So there was no like internet really.
Yeah.
It was like Internet 1. So you bought Encarta, which was like an encyclopedia on a CD to learn things. I love going to the shop and getting them with my mom. There was no YouTube. There was no free. People like, I can't afford to buy courses. What are you talking about? There is literally millions of hours on YouTube of free content. And how much is a book? Like, say 20 quid?
Yeah, if that.
I mean, if that. And there's the used section on Amazon. Like, I have read, you've seen the shelves in the office, so many coaching books. And you know what? I didn't fucking understand a lot of it, but I kept reading it over and over and over until I became better.
So I suppose if we want to tie this section up, it's firstly be good at what you do, and then do it for long enough that people actually take genuine interest in what you're doing.
No, do it for long enough that people can't ignore it any longer.
There you go. Be good enough that people can't ignore you.
Yeah, like be remarkable. If you want to be able,
start getting your exceptional results.
if the goal is to be remarkable, that should be your goal, because like to be remarkable is to be so good that people make a remark about you. So if the goal shifts from like getting good results with anyone, yourself or anyone else, to being remarkable, if people are remarking about the quality of your work, other people will listen.
Yeah.
Like you come to me, you're like, have you seen this guy on YouTube? Have you seen this guy on Instagram? We're remarking about them. They're doing something well. And then we buy from some of those people.
Yeah.
Be so good that you become remarkable. So the goal therefore is mastery of craft, not anything else. It's just how fucking good can I be at this job? And I think you felt that working with me. It's like how passionate. Like passionate is how I would describe myself about the coaching. I fucking love learning about coaching. But I see a lot of coaches that are just like, but I just want to make 10K. Cool, then go and sell something. Like go be sales. Like if that's all you want, I'm not here to judge that. But if you also want to be a great coach, then if you chase the game, the bag will come with it. But if you chase the bag, the game won't come with it. You won't master any of that.
There you go. That's a writer downer, baby.
Get it in the workbooks.
So now for the real reason I think people are actually watching this video.
These.
Maybe the arms, but also
Oh,
maybe the fact that you said you can turn one piece of social proof into 17 weeks of content.
Oh, I can back that one up, brothers.
That's it.
You ready? Strap in. So, on the iPad here, how to 7x your social proof today. Even better. We're going to do it today. We're not just going to do it. We're going to do it today. So if you have one piece of social proof, and let's, for the sake of the example, before everyone gets on their high horse, we're going to use the example we've been using throughout. Chaz being shredded. If you don't do that, that's fine. It still works for you. You have a before, stat, or photo, and you have an after. Great. That is the transformation that we need. That alone is one post, most likely. It's Chaz fat, Chaz shredded, great. And we've discussed how to make that better. You can turn that into 7 other things. And I'm going to talk you through what they are. And then, even better, I've got a worksheet that you can grab below that you can do it along with me. So the very first thing we can do, obviously, is the standard before and after. That's post number 1. Post number 1 is the before and after classic, a timeless classic. And whilst it's maybe not the highest engaging post, it's still important and it still works. So don't stop doing that. The second thing we can do is one reel of you talking through how they went from X to Y. So it can be a talking head in a nice background, a relevant background. So if it's about a gym-based win, maybe be in a fitness environment. If it's about a nutrition-based win, you could be in the kitchen. That's okay. But I'm going to say, let me explain how I got Chaz from X to Y. If you want to chip in on this, you be my guest. But I think that for me, talking through it, and then you can bring pictures and messages up into the reel to back it up, or videos.
I think just like trying to turn your social proof into something, if you're doing it as a reel, like something that you'd actually watch. If you use a video like this as an example, we're talking about this, that, and the other, Matt could then, like, you're engaged in the video, Matt could then reference results that other coaches have got, and because he's already engaged you, you're now more inclined to listen. So it's like thinking about, okay, well, I didn't even realize that was going on. If
you're struggling with X, let me tell you how I fixed that with my client Chaz.
Yeah.
Let me tell you how I took client Chaz. So if you're struggling with low confidence in the gym, let me tell you how I took Chaz from feeling like he didn't belong in a gym to feeling like fucking king of the jungle in there in 16 weeks. And then it pops up Chaz and it's like, this is Chaz before. He didn't feel good. And he looked like a fucking upside down mushroom from the waist up. And then it's like, and this is Chaz now. Now it looks like he should be in the fucking Avengers.
Yeah.
Right. So that's an easy one. And then after that, we can have one carousel where it's their journey. And it's the same as the reel, but it's a carousel. And people tell me I'm wrong, but people overlook this. It's like this applies to all content, not just social proof. You can take a reel and you can turn that reel into a carousel. And guess what? The opposite works too. So you take the reel, you turn it into a carousel, which has got pain point hook. It has payoff up front. So it's like, what's the problem they're dealing with? What was the actual promised outcome? Don't just skip straight into anything else. And then after that, it's like, this is Chaz. Chaz was feeling like this, feeling. Important, feeling, not just looking. And he was looking like this. Now it looks like this. Here's what we did. And you know what works really nicely here is graphs.
Yeah.
Especially if the graph, like on the iPad, if the graph looks like that, it's quite boring where it's like Chaz lost kilos, like nothing's going out, like is going out of fashion. But if it's like Chaz lost a little bit and then, like something real bad happened and Chaz went on a 3-week bender And all of a sudden now he's looking like Mr. Blobby. Well, guess what? Then it's like, then this happened. And then Chaz broke his hand. It's like, oh no. And then that's how a movie script works.
Yeah.
It's like the guy gets some help and then it's like, plot twist. Every client journey I've ever worked on has a plot twist.
Yeah, and I think that's what engages people.
No social proof ever has it though.
Life has a plot twist.
Because coaches are embarrassed to share it because they're like, oh, but it would be sexier if it was an 8-week linear transformation. It might be sexier, but it would be less realistic. And as a result of being less realistic, I can't fucking grasp it. And I'm like, yeah, but... And then I applied the voices in my head.
Yeah, and I think something that's worth saying that we hadn't said just there was like, you have watchers and you have readers.
Yeah, so yeah, the watchers will watch the reels, but you lose the readers if you don't do carousels. Like you and I are YouTube guys. Are you YouTube over Spotify or Spotify over YouTube?
YouTube.
Same. Would you read over YouTube or read over Spotify? You got those three, rank them.
I would YouTube, Spotify, read.
Same, but we're not everyone.
Exactly.
And there are people that would choose to read first.
Such a small percentage of your following will actually even see the initial post.
Yeah.
So it's like, damn, like say only 20% of your following see your initial post, and at least half of those people are readers.
Well,
you have such a small amount of your actual following that have seen the result you've got, but you're only posting it once.
And
like,
all the value, the journey, the twists, the tales are in the caption. Now, I don't know about you, but I read fuck all captions on Instagram.
Nah.
I will read a carousel that's got less text in it. If it's just the caption, but I don't like paragraphs. There you go. Single lines of text. I'll read it. I'll read the same amount of text spread out over a 20 slide carousel.
Yeah.
Because it's made snackable for lazy people. This guy and that guy. Not lazy when it comes to training, lazy as fuck when it comes to information ingestion, which I think is a fucking pandemic level problem. Like I think education probably struggles with that now.
Yeah, 100%.
So that one's an easy one. The next one is one testimonial reel if you can get it from them. It's not going to be for every client. Like not every client's going to be like, I'm like, Chaz, do you want to jump on like Zoom? And like, they're not going to want to do that. But you can get them from client events. You can interview them. That's great. Now, I use Riverside. I like Riverside for doing my client ones. Why do I use Riverside over Zoom? Because it feels premium. If we do all our group calls on Zoom, but I invite you to the Riverside room, you're like, okay, I'm in the big boys room now.
Now we're cooking, baby. Now we're cooking.
And you can use either. You can use neither. You can just FaceTime them and record it. It doesn't have to be sexy.
I think there's something really powerful as well about hearing it from the person. Like
in their words.
You go to like rewind to Blair's event last weekend. I did a few testimonials with his clients, and hearing them talk about like the personal impact working with him has had on their family. You're never going to have that same connection if Blair's telling you, because it's like, man, of course you're going to be. It's like when you see someone's WhatsApp thing and they've actually typed it out in Canva. Like you've definitely tweaked these words.
And so then, but you can, that's good because it's in their words. But then if you then work that backwards into the carousel from previous, you can then use their words. How did Chaz say he was feeling? Don't assume. Chaz said, and you want to say underconfident because we say the words we think the market want. But Chaz said, feel like shit. Or felt intimidated. Or I felt like a fucking beta male. Which clearly he is. Look at him. But just look at him. But you use their words and you can feed that back into your carousel. So this one's great. This one, shout out to Chris Robertson in the OC. He was the first to do it in our group.
Right.
I wish I'd thought of it. It's good. No, that's not this one. The next one's Chris's. The green screen walkthrough is different. So green screen, we'll come to Chris in a minute. The green screen walkthrough is you can have a graph or something in the background. So what you're going to do is you're going to go into Reels. You're going to search the filters for green screen, which is going to create, you know the one where you see people cut out? Not everyone knows what that is, but that's how you're doing it. It's easy. It's free. You can then have stuff in the background that's like videos of Chaz training or a photo montage of him going through the phases. Imagine that, like a nicely timed photo 1, photo 2, and there's 40 photos and he morphs slowly as you talk. Fucking great. And you're like, this is Chaz. Chaz came to me, and again, we're going to use Chaz's words from his intake form or interviews, check-ins and everything in between. And then we're going to run through the process. And now we're just finding another way to present the same information in a way that, bear in mind, we've said read, listen, and watch. There's also, you've said this to me today, the thing that you watch. This is a different type of YouTube for us because you and I like to watch this type of content rather than this fucking face looking down that lens for the whole thing, which both of us don't love.
It's the same when we talk about viewer fatigue. You just see the same thing and there's no interrupts. Whereas you'll now go on a really good point and then there's an interrupt. So it's like, as you may be losing that person, interrupt. And it's the same with what we're talking about here, is you just have to try and find a way to interrupt.
Spice it up.
Yeah.
Variety is the spice of life. Like, experiments with content and everything in between are so vital. It's just a case of doing them in a controlled and calm way, where you're not like, every piece shouldn't be a fucking brand new experiment. It's like, for the month of April, we're going to do green screens, and we're going to do 5% of the other stuff and 95% of this, and we're going to see what happens. I was going to leave this point to the end, but we'll just cover it now. The point isn't necessarily engagement. Don't look at engagement in your social proof. We'll talk about it later on, I suppose, but the goal isn't engagement. Yeah, people are like, oh, but Matt, my social proof doesn't do that well. Well, and I'll say, well, if a client comes to me and says that, I'm like, all right, define not well. And they're like, oh, but it only got 10 likes. I'm like, okay, well, what would well have been? Like, well, mostly I get 50 likes. I'm like, cool. Do me a favor. See you next time you're in town. Grab those combined 60 likes that you got from those last two posts and just take them down to the bank, pay off your mortgage. Like, oh, I can't. It's like, no, you're fucking right. Because a like is like, it's a fucking construct. It's not even real. People won't like social proof for a number of reasons, and they won't like it because it shows interests. And if they show interest, they're like, fuck. The market is wise. If I like Matt's post, Matt will be like, hey, thanks for liking my post. It looks like you want some help with growing your business. And they don't want that. So the goal isn't engagement. The goal is it works in the background. I can touch on this later if you want to touch on it later on, but I think this is a super important point. This stuff might not perform that well in terms of traditional metrics. They're fucking seeing it, and it is doing its work in the back of their brain. It's not a front brain thing. It's not, oh, that was helpful, I'll save that. It's all right, I see you. And then guess what? Do enough of it, what do you become? Remarkable. Good.
Exactly. And I think if we go back to when you started doing the optimized coach thing to make it, again, relatable for people, it's like, it's just stripe graphs. When I started working with Matt, that was like, I said that to him. I was like, this is the first thing I think of when I think of social proof and your social media is stripe graphs.
Viewer fatigue after a while, though.
Stripe. Viewer fatigue after a while, but for the people that are on the fence,
we still do it.
It's like, holy, like,
but no one likes it.
You can't argue that seeing plus 10 grand in a Stripe account isn't going to make you sit there if you're struggling and be like, ugh.
We should edit in some social proof, like a screenshot of the likes on ones that don't have emotion, because now we've changed our social proof and it's like, this is Jack. Jack's dealing with this. Jack's now doing this. And there's emotion and thought through it. Actually, do you know what? Ironically, the engagement has gone through the fucking roof. And a lot of that engagement comes from our clients gassing each other up, which is fantastic. So just a quick side tangent, side quest there is, don't be disheartened if your social proof is underperforming versus your other content. That's not a you problem, that's an everyone content. And I think that's because social media sees social proof as like the flyers that come through your door, which, what do you do with them? Put them right in the fucking bin because it's someone trying to sell you their agenda. So just be wise that it's going to have low engagement, and that's okay. The goal was never engagement. The goal was trust, proof, and authority. If you can stick with that and do it long enough and get enough of it, you become undeniable and you become remarkable. Okay, well, the next one is actually the Chris Robertson special, which is the transparency tool, which is what I was jumping ahead to earlier on. So basically, Chris Robertson was the first person to do it. Shout out, Chris, big up. Effectively, this is one when you see something so good, you wish it was your own. So if we take like a reel that looks like that and it has Chaz on it. Now, what we want to do is, if the green that I've just drawn is the shredded version, so that's the after, what we want to do is put that on a reel or a carousel or square, whatever shape you're doing. And then we want to, on top of that, layer on the same thing, but the fat version. So there we go. So that's the before in red. So it's completely on top of it. You can't even see what's green. And then what you do is you screen record and you slowly turn the transparency down on the before to such reveal, like, you know, that morph thing you see someone do. It's the easiest way to do it. There's plenty of software that'll do it for you, but you'll pay for it. Canva will do it for free. Take it, layer the after, under the before, slowly turn that down, and then you can put that on a reel and you can talk about it. You can green screen and make that even another one. You could have it just like that, and you could have it with the green screen. That's easy as fuck. I think it's super, super powerful and impactful. I don't know if you agree, but I think it's a goodie.
No, I think that's completely bang on. And again, like, people, it's just another way of making people feel like they're missing out.
100%.
It's like, because a lot of people will remember how long they followed you for. I think this is worth saying as well. And over a period of time, people will start to feel stupid because they will see when someone joins. Like,
I should have joined then.
for you, people will say like, oh, so and so has joined the OC, and then 5 months later, so and so just had a record month of 8K, and that person that's still sat there, that was still like doubting, is now just like, oh my god, and then another person, and another person, and maybe like a few more months down the line, they're like, right, I've got to do it because you've become undeniable.
I feel like an idiot. You know who I'm talking about here, a mate of mine who got into crypto, and I was like, I actually didn't have enough money to get into crypto when it started. I'll be real, and I don't think I would have even though I did. But he got into it at the right time, and I was like, I don't know. And then over time, he then took out 66 grand or something like that and bought an Audi RS3 outright using crypto money. And at that point, I'm like, oh man, I need to get into it. Got into it, but at that point, I've kind of missed the curve. So yeah, I felt stupid. So that happens in life a lot with your mates or whatever. So another one is a graduation post. Shout out to Chris Robertson again, the fucking Don.
The GOAT.
Sponsored. So with this one, graduation post, lovely touch. Chris came to me and said, dude, I've got 3 or 4 clients leaving. I've got this idea. What is it? I'm going to do, Chaz is leaving. But I'm not going to say he's leaving because that looks like you've lost a client. He's going to say, Chaz just graduated the XYZ program. Graduated, fucking great, because surely we sell coaching as the goal of coaching is client autonomy, that they can do it by themselves. So if they graduated, then I assume, rightly or wrongly, that has been achieved. So he graduates Chaz and he does the whole story, start to finish, in as much detail as possible. And you know what? You could do 4 different graduation posts if you want to keep. You could. This just keeps going. Like what we're doing here is we're taking one piece and then from there we're turning it into like all these different pieces of content, and you can just keep adding them. So you can start mixing and matching. But the graduation post is a really nice touch, and it will set you apart in that no one does this, and it feels like an endless cycle of check-in and response.
Yeah.
Where I am constantly sold some next dream. Instead, it's like, mate, like here's Chaz in my business. Chaz now makes 150 grand a year, and he's just graduated the OC, and he's changed his life forever, paid off his mortgage. I don't know if you're doing that with 150 grand a year, depending on what you've bought, but I mean, certainly not where I live. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I was going to follow that up by saying I feel like people don't necessarily join you thinking, oh, I want to stay with this person for the rest of my life. Like ultimately you're a service and you're a tool for them to get to where they want to be. And if they can see that there is not like an exit, but they can see that it's a program that works. It's an
A to B, not an A to fucking never.
There you go.
Good shit. Okay, well now I think that's them all. What you can see here is that we've just 7x that's a 7x increase in social proof volume, which that's transformational in any coaching business. Like if you had, well, let's talk about it. If you had 5 good social proofs at the start of this, right? 5, which was how many you started with, multiplied by 7, which is what the number of posts that we just turned it into as a bare minimum. Then you have, as a result, 35 posts, which was 5. You've just turned it into 35 posts. But if we go one step further and think about if you're going to post 2 times a week, as we've already said, Thursdays and Sundays, if you want to join me, then 35, the number of posts that we have, divided by 2, which is the number per week, gives you 17.5 weeks of social proof that you can constantly churn out 2 a week, and you can put Chaz, and like so you've got 5 of them, so you can go client 1, client 2, client 3, client 4. That's 2 weeks of content, but we're not even on to client 5. Week 3 we do client 5, week 4 we go back to client 1, and that way every week we've got something fresh, and it doesn't feel like you're just posting the same ones, which is why people have, when you've got 5, that's part of the mental block, is embarrassment, is people will think I'm not very good at my job because I've not got very many. And I think a lot of that, we can go down this rabbit hole in another episode, is the fear of judgment from other coaches.
Yeah, I agree. So if we were to round this out and give some final thoughts on
this
whole sort of topic, what would you say are the sort of the main takeaways for coaches?
Well, the final part that we need to say there is, on this slide, all of this is without compounding or new results.
Yeah. So
the results keep getting better because you keep working with the clients until they graduate. But also you get new people. So every one you post, say it gets you 2 clients. If you had 5, then next week you've got 7, then next week you've got 10. But then it's like the maths is like 5 times X to the power of Y. So it just goes and it compounds and it gets ridiculous. Like our social proof vault, you've seen it. You're in it. It's fucking insane. There's thousands of posts. So takeaways from the whole thing? Is that where you want to go, just for this section?
Yeah, no, takeaways for the whole thing now, I'd say.
Okay, sweet. Takeaways from the whole thing, realistically, I think are, the proof that you are not posting because you're worried isn't finished yet is crippling your growth because you're waiting for the big gold medal moment. Imagine you were a 100-meter sprinter and you never ran in a competition because your goal is to win the Olympics.
Yeah, obscene.
It's ridiculous. So I think that's a key takeaway.
One of the key takeaways I had in my head initially was make sure that you're as good as you think you are at what you deliver. So if for example, you're not getting these shit hot results or you're not seeing the leads you'd like come in, it's like you can't just blame. It's like, are you...
Coaches do that a lot. That client was shit.
Yeah. Are you as good as you think you are?
The answer is always no.
And in which
Stop
case,
thinking you're good. I think is the biggest problem. Dunning-Kruger. The minute you think you're good is the minute you stop learning. So the answer is you're not as good at your job as you think you are, and that's okay.
Yeah.
The next question is, what are you going to do about it? Resources are free. You can constantly upskill for nothing. Or if you have money in the bank, you can pay to learn that faster. You're either paying money or paying time. It takes... How long does it take to read a book? For me, 6 months. For someone that can actually read, probably a week. But I don't think you can learn from the Beano. If you could, I'd be fucking cruising here, mate. But if it takes that long to read a book, that's fine. That's the free version. So you've paid in time. But if it takes you a week to learn something on a crash course that you can then apply, then you can pay in time, you pay in money, then fantastic. So yeah, you're not as good as you think you are, comma, and that's okay, comma, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
That's definitely a key takeaway. I think the other one is get used to asking for the emotional follow-up. My clients, they'll often reply in support messages when they're like, I know what you're doing here. They'll message me like, Matt, just hit a 10K month. And I'm like, bro, I am fucking stoked. And then I ask a couple of follow-up questions and they sound like this. Chaz, mate, super proud of you. Stoked for you. How do you feel? And they're like, dude, I feel fucking incredible. Like I've been like, when I first signed up, I said to you X and now we've done it. And oh, dude, it feels really good. And then I'll ask the next question. She's like, cool, dude, I love that for you. What 3 things or 3 to 5 things or 1 to 3 things do you think really move the needle for you? 9 times out of 10, if you've built your business right, they will name your systems back to you. And that is fucking power because they're like, oh, it was the Dragon's Den formula and it was this model and that model and this framework. And you're like, And then you stick that on your social proof and then you're not telling the prospect the fucking client is. And now we've got a money printing machine. And that is, for me, it's to wrap that is a friend of mine once said, you know, the old phrase, teach a man to fish, don't give him a fish. Well, he described the Optimized Coach as a fish catching machine. And that's genuinely what you've created if you do this right. You have created a fish catching machine. You have created a fucking monster. If you get this right and you ask the right follow-up questions, you can apply emotion and context and have their words speak to the prospect who is them anyway.
There we go.
So make more social proof. Stop being a shite bag. Ask for emotion. Schedule it.
There you go. And if you've made it this far, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe.
And let me know if you like the vest. Because if you like the vest, we can make this happen. We can do the next one naked. We're willing to do anything for likes and subscribes, guys.
Just get us past that sweet 150 view mark, guys.
I don't know if OnlyFans has room for educational content. Welcome back to my OnlyFans channel.
On that note.
Guys, it's been a pleasure. We'll see you on the next one. Over and out. Thanks, Chaz.